Hallo zusammen. Wenn dieses Video euch gefällt, abonniert mich und bitte einen Daumen nach oben.
Moin to my YouTube channel. This time we're gonna work out for the modification of the C64 Maxi and Mini. After the True Blue Mini came to the market, some freaks did some nice modification on this. With this modification it is possible to put some more games on the C64 Mini. It's important to know that you don't change the firmware of the C64 with that stuff. After restart, the C64 is the same as before. You don't lose the overview because you can classify all the games into certain folders. They are classified into 3 folders from A to G, H to R and S to Z. For this new version you also have the possibility to do a favorite folder. And the good shit is that you only need a USB stick for this. Within the Carousel marks no multi-disc games work, but the Easy Flash modus work as also many others. With the multi-disc systems you may have problems with the joysticks, because there's no change of the joystick port possible. I show you how to fix it. You find all the tutorials down in the description.
The developer Spannernick released a new version right before the completion of this tutorial. This one has changed the function of the menu navigation fundamentally. Some may like the older version, so I have made this tutorial also suitable for the older versions. Many users had problems with the game list after the update to version 13, so the developer has deactivated the new menu functions. Also, there can be problems with the C64 Maxi. Even if a different joystick is used, it might be better to leave the new menu function disabled. At the end of this tutorial, I have added a chapter "What's New?" to explain the new menu functions and how to activate them. The basic functions, such as the game tool, have not changed. We find the software in this forum. In the subforum, the CBM Game Zone, we find the entry Project Carousel USB. The developer Spannernick provides his tool here. Here is the description, and further down we find the link to the download folder. Check the forum more often, so you always have latest information and updates. Among other things, we can find older versions and further information here. We download the latest version of the Project GameTool, PCU. After it is downloaded, we have to unzip the program. In this example, I unpack it on the desktop in the folder the C64.
You open the folder, you see the overview of all the games. In this case from H to R. In every folder you need to have one games tool. Do not click Make Firmware because everything will be deleted or destroyed. Always leave with the Exit button. If you don't want to add more games, go to Add New More Games on the USB stick. We need a USB stick which is formatted into FAT32. the USB stick is needed to be detected. It's important to know that there's a maximum of 226 games per directory. We have a new favorite folder in which you have all your favorite games and which is accepted of the updates. Here is an important note, how many games are on the USB stick yet. And please remind that it's just the possibility to put 226 games into one folder. If I want to add a new game, I open the folder, click through the new overview. There you can see the favorite folder. And I think it's much better to put all the new games into the favorite folder. In my example, I want to do this with the game Mafia. So I open the folder H2R or do it to the favorite folder. And start the game tool, but there's still no Mafia. But now I can add it. I'll do this with the button Add New Game and put the name in. Then we choose the game in the file path. The 64 file will be chosen from the wiki page of the Commodore 64. Special for the description is that you can only add an English description. Doing it in German gets you a failure message. All other languages must be added by hand. For that reason, we take the description from the English wiki page. And just do copy and paste to the description. Important are the joystick informations in the internet. There's a page named CGM config files. All config files you can find here. Download and open the file. The star shows that the port 1 is the one to be used. And now it's just copy and paste into the game tool. And the same for joystick 2. Joystick 1 is the active joystick. Here you can choose the system, if it's an Commodore 64 or a VIC-20. In here you can choose for more system configuration, if it's a system type PAL, or for the drive emulation, or for the display or audio. For more information, please read the description. Thank you. Or look my other tutorials. Now we need the cover and the screenshots. You can find the covers on that certain page or just let Google look for it. So I just save them on the computer. On the wiki page you can find all the screenshots. And you also save this, please.
Yo, check this out.
in your saved place or in the download folder, you have all the saved pics and screenshots. The game tool just can work with PNG files, so you have to convert them. For this action, we use Windows Paint. Just save the files as an PNG file. Now you can import them into your game tool. The cover and the screenshots. And a note, please. In the joystick configuration, you can do many things by hand. I made a special tutorial for the joystick configuration. You can watch this. There's another new tutorial for the system configuration. Now I show you what kind of possibilities you have at the system configuration. Verify all the input. And then we leave by clicking the OK button. And now we can see the new edit game. And finally, we leave with the exit cross.
This chapter also applies to other languages, except English, of course. If we now want to change the game's description, for example to German, we have to close the program. We are currently in the game folder H2R. Change to the Games folder and look for us at TSG Files, the Mafia TSG file. We need to edit this file. I recommend Notepad++. Here now we have the entries of the description. In my example, I select DE for German and copy the German description from Wikipedia. Now I have the English and the German description and save this. It is very important, if we start the Game Maxi tool and make some changes, we have to save them afterwards and then quit the Games tool. Let's take another look at the Mafia TSG. Is the description gone again? This must be considered in any case. But if I still want to make a change, for example, if I made a spelling mistake, I have the possibility to select the game from the corresponding folder. And can edit the TSG afterwards. Do I now want to delete a game? I change to the Games folder and search for the game here. Then I start the Games tool and look for the game I want to delete. With delete, the game is deleted. Again, very important, leave the game tool only with the above cross. The game is now deleted and no longer appears in the directory. Now the whole content must be copied again on the USB stick. However, if something has only been changed in the Favorites folder, only the Favorites folder needs to be copied to the USB stick again. I would now like to talk about the modules again. There are also the Easy Flash modules or the ready-made modules from Commodore. You can also integrate them here. Here, for example, I have a module with 37 games. This ends on CRT. I store the game here from O to G, go to ADD in the tool, add games and complete all entries. Now here at Game, I can select the CRT game as usual. The entry multi-CRT has nothing to do with this. We save the whole thing with OK and end the game tool with a cross. Here in the directory Games, you will find the 37 CRT games. I will now add the German or any other language to the TSG. Save it all. Now, if we have added the game, or we just want to transfer the folder to the Commodore 64, we need a USB stick, which has to be formatted with 32, as I said before. We now copy all data from the directory to the USB stick. Note for all Mac users when transferring data to the stick. OS X has created a lot of hidden files on the USB. I found a program called Blue Harvest, used the trial version to clean out the hidden OS X files, and voila, it works. If it should not work, use a Windows computer. With this, it works in any case. If necessary, clean up the USB stick with the Windows Diskpart tool. When everything is ready, remove the USB stick and plug in the C64. This is my C64. I already modified it, so you can see a lot of games here. First of all, everything is as it was before. Now we change the wrench system information, and here we find a new firmware. Here we now see the 9.1 at the end. We update. The firmware, of course, is not updated, it remains only temporary. For the 9.1, only all games from 0 to G are displayed. The developer Spannernick released a new version right before the completion of this tutorial. At the end of the tutorial, I have added a chapter What's New, explaining these functions. If I want the games from H to R now, I go back to the wrench system information. Here we have now the 9.2 version and update again. Now all games from H to R are displayed. Here we also see our game Mafia. If I want to have the games from S to Z now, I switch back to the system information and we recognize the firmware 9.3. Now we see all games here from S to Z. I now change the wrench back to system information. With firmware 9.4, all games from 0 to G are displayed again. And so it goes on and on. In the meantime, the developer has also made an update and have a better overview. Many new features have been added here after an update. Working with a carousel would be easier in any case. As I mentioned before, a favorites folder has been added. There you can add all your favorite games. As I said, check the forum more often. The developer takes a lot of trouble to rework. I would like to go back to the save games here for a moment. Of course I can play a game quite normally. Save and load a game here below. And recharge, of course. If I now take a snapshot of the game, then I have in the folder Carousel Game a folder named Games and Options. Under Options I find the folder Saves. Here are all saved games. There's a folder for each game. With Multigames or Multigames modules, there is a special feature. For each game, there are 4 slots or save slots available. And a multigame always counts as one game. I will now create 3 different scores from a multigame or multi-module so that we can take a closer look at it later. Here on the USB stick and the folder Carousel Games, there is a folder called Games and Options. We open the Options folder and here we find the saved games. The Easy Flash 37 games count as one game. Here you can see the slots now. Here's the first game we saved. And here's the second game and the third game. I rename the folder now. When I have renamed the folder, we put the USB stick back into the C64. So I have now quickly loaded a new Easy Flash module and saved the games with a new score. Here you can see the new score as a snapshot. Now when I look at the USB stick again on the PC, I create a new folder for the save game. This gives you the possibility to save several scores. You just have to remember which score is saved under which name. I would like to demonstrate here again which difficulties can occur with multi-game modules. Here we see the module with the 37 games. We start the module. You can select a game here. The joystick also works in the game. In the Game tool under Input, the joystick is set as default. We leave the game and choose another game. Unfortunately, the game does not work with the joystick in this case. The game requires the joystick 1 port. Unfortunately, it is not yet possible to change the joystick on the C64. Which works, however, is when a second joystick is used. A second USB joystick is required on the C64. Use the standard joystick settings in the GameTool under Input. Joystick 2 is used for most modules. However, if it is a joystick port 1 game, the second joystick on the USB port is used. By default, joystick 2 and an alternative joystick 1. You should try before if the additional joystick is recognized. It is suitable for the carousel mode. In the Easy Flash module, I can select a game with a joystick 1 and play that game with a joystick 2. When we look at the games in the GameTool, we realize that we can edit some games and some we can't. Deleting games doesn't work either. This is because some TSG files have a -ms at the back. For example, when I look at the game 1942 in the directory, we found that there is no -ms at the end. If you still want to edit the game, you have to exit the GameTool and write a -ms at the end of the game. If you now start the GameTool again, you can now edit the game as usual. Important, as always, leave the GameTool with a cross on top. With the v14 update, the developer has fundamentally changed the menu navigation. You don't have to do a cumbersome system update every time. It has to be done only once. After that, you can easily load the game list with the joystick in carousel mode. Many users had problems with the game list after the update to version 13, so the developer has deactivated the new menu functions. Also, there can be problems with the C64 Maxi. Even if a different joystick is used, it might be better to leave the new menu function disabled. How it works, I will show you now. If we now look at the USB stick on the PC, we see the file start.sh. Now we have to edit this file, preferably with Notepad++. At the very end, we find the entries we need. As you can see in the video, we removed the hash sign in front. And further up, we put the hash sign in front of the line hash sign. We have now changed 2 lines, which can be undone if necessary. Here we see once again the direct comparison. Above is the original start.sh and below is the modified start.sh. We now save the changed start.sh, remove the USB stick from the PC and put it back into the C64. The new 2-button menu is now activated. First, the pseudo update is carried out as described above. Afterwards, for example, the favorite games list is loaded. If you want to update your system again, we get the hint that this is not possible. If we now want to load another game list, we only have to press the following button on the joystick in carousel mode. Menu button and then the left fire button as shown in the picture. Then the screen turns black and loading appears. Now the next game list is loaded. If you want to load the next game list, you have to press the button combination on the joystick again. The list of loaded games appears. This can now be continued as desired. Note, if you use another joystick with less fire buttons, you can use the C64 original joystick on another USB port to change the game lists. Another possibility is to skip game lists. To do this, we press the button combination on the joystick in the carousel again. If loading appears on the screen, we have to press the button combination on the joystick again. After 1 second, loading appears again on the screen. Now the next but one game list is loaded. In carousel mode, we press the button combination on the joystick once more. If I want to skip the next game list, I press the button combination on the joystick again at the message loading. This can also be done again at the next message loading to load the next but one game list. With this button combination on the joystick, a very fast change from different game lists is possible.